And again, I forgot to I'm going to be recording this class because I messed up during second period and recorded not even half of what I was supposed to do, and then I gave up. Um, so again, apologies for that. That's why you don't see that's why this isn't underlined right now, because I apparently need desperately another cup of coffee or an IV of coffee, straight into my vein. Because today is just not a good day. Apparently, I am I have a headache, and I just want, yeah.
What have you guys done to her? No.
I know, what? So mean. But yeah, again, guys, notebooks number one, get those done. Then do all the activities that says F, and then do all the ones that say S, like 4S, 3S. I think 4 is as high as we went. So there's only 4 of these. Those are the F's and the S's are worth 40% of your grade. Notebooks are worth 15, but since there's only 8 of them, it's going to be, a huge chunk. And then your assignments, I mean, they're worth 15 as well, but there's a lot of them. So I would do the others before you start doing your homework assignments if you're trying to catch up. But what are we doing today? We're going to be taking a practice test. We're not going to get through with it all today. We'll finish it up tomorrow. I kind of assumed that we wouldn't be able to get through it all today. And then whatever we don't finish, I want you guys to do for homework. Oh, I totally did not spell my name right. I think I wrote Ak. So I'm going to log in again and spelled it right this time. Okay. So I'm going to be giving you guys the length of a song to go through each one of these pages. The first page, you're just doing a sorting activity. You're sorting everything inside the boxes. You're sorting these down here. Do not touch the summary on the bottom. I'm going to go over this whole page first. And then if you guys did it 100% correct, all you're doing is marking, with a marker. Yes, I got it right. If you got something wrong, or if you learned something, then you guys would type it here or write it. But I would probably type it. I would not write that. So again, I'm going to give you guys the length of a song, and I will remember to, start recording afterwards because I need to pause it. Wait, resume. Ha. See, I remembered this time. Oh, who is it? All right. So let me grab my pen. See, now I'm going to be paying attention to what it's saying on the bottom
Yeah.
versus what.
It's like when I watch movies that are in English, but I put the captions.
Yeah.
I know what they're saying, but I'm reading the captions.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
But all of those films that are have that British accent, I have to put the captions
on. I have the captions on because of, family. They won't shut up. And when you have a little 7-year-old asking you all these things and telling you about Five Nights at Freddy and all this stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, and I have to read what's going on versus, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I don't think it's the Zoom ghost. I think it's, aren't you? I think you're on campus, right? Because the internet on campus is horrible. All right. So we're going to be dealing again, paying attention to linear versus, I can't. I'm sorry. I can't do this whole caption things because I'm just paying attention to that and I'm seeing the lines go by. I was trying because it was being recorded and no, can't do it. All right. So we're going to be dealing with linear versus exponential, and I'm going to give you guys some notes to kind of jog your memory of what each piece means so that it'll make doing the test a little bit easier. So linear versus exponential. The equation looks like this. Y equals mx plus b, where the m, that's our rate of change. That's our slope. It's also where you find the pattern. We normally will see either a adding pattern or a subtraction pattern. Initial value, that's your y-intercept. That's wherever you're crossing the y-axis. For exponential, you're kind of switching the order of these two. And again, we're paying attention to the colors so that we can match certain ideas. So for instance, the B is the same thing as the pink. We are not going to be adding and subtracting that time. Our patterns are going to be multiplying and dividing. However, our initial values, that's the same. That's the y-intercept. So a couple of equations that might look a little weird are the ones where it asks you to find the y-intercept that's 0. So it would look like this. Normally you would write it like this, but we have this plus 0 and I don't really need it there. So ultimately it should look like this. Y equals negative 2x with nothing in the back. This is still a linear function. It's just that we don't have that plus 0. We just leave it blank because we don't need it. Same thing with exponential. The one that's going to look weird is whenever our y-intercept is 1, which is a lot of the time. So if y equals 1, it should look like this. However, y should be invisible, so it should end up like this. So looking at that, which pieces should I move? I should probably move this guy over. I also talked to you guys about the size of the x in relation to your b. If the size is way smaller than the b, then it's going to be exponential. If they're the same size like this one, that's going to be linear. So that's linear. This one has an exponent. This one's linear. This one's an exponent. That one's an exponent. That one's a linear. This one does have an exponent, but the exponent is a 5, not an x. So then that means that's going to be a neither. We're not dealing with a number as an exponent. We're dealing with the x as an exponent. And then I'm not dealing with any of the square roots, the casitas. So we're just going to leave these there. Now, some mistakes that we kind of saw that were common were some like this. Like this one, this student, this is an example of what a student did. This student got this question right. However, this one, they put it in the wrong spot. They're not very good with exponents. So they missed a couple of them. They saw this 5 and they probably were like, maybe that goes with linear because it's a number with the x, but it should have been with neither. They got this one right, but again, maybe because they saw the 1/3, they thought it was linear because most of the fractions were slopes. So maybe that's what they got, thought. So again, be careful, slow down when it comes to these. However, on the exponential side, she got all of these right. So this one was right, that one was right, that one was right. However, for the neithers, she got a lot of things wrong. I think the reason why she got this one wrong was because the negative 5x was in the back. So they thought that this was different, but it's not. Same thing here. Maybe they got confused because they saw the negative 3, but that shouldn't have been there. It should have been in linear. This one's right because it was, we haven't dealt with those yet. So what you guys can put on the bottom, and yes, I do expect you guys to be writing these as we're going through. And now I need to switch to Spanish. All right. So on the bottom, Ernesto, estamos haciendo una actividad. Si puchas esa link, te va a llevar a la actividad que estamos haciendo ahorita. So the mistake that you could have written, whoops, was my mistake was that I put the exponential equations in the wrong spot. And I learned that an exponential equation has the x as an exponent. Or you could have said that the x is smaller on the exponential functions, anything like that. So here, that's where you could write something right here. But let's finish this piece off first before you guys touch this piece. No, está bien. So nomás hemos hecho esta parte aquí y estamos haciendo esto porque vamos a tener un examen el lunes o martes. Puedes escoger cuál día quieres hacerlo, si la quieres hacerlo lunes o martes. Y estamos practicando lo que va a estar en el examen. Hey, Erica. I'm putting it into chat. That link is the link to the activity that we're doing. It's a practice test. And we just covered the first piece. And we're about to cover this bottom
Doc,
piece.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You had said that because it had an exponent into neither, but like, is it just like an exponent or is it specifically something?
You see, this one has an exponent that's a 5. That is not an exponential function. That is an exponent. It's just not an exponential function. So if these were in reverse, the 5 was where the x is and the x was up top, then it would be exponential. So the x needs to be the exponent, not a number.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So la pregunta es, ¿por qué esta no es exponencial, una función exponencial? Es porque el exponente es 5 y necesita ser el x. All right, for question 2, I think the easiest one to find is this one right here. So yo pienso que el más fácil para encontrar es esta, because it's letting me know that I'm shifting it, I'm moving it one piece up. So el 1 atrás me está diciendo que vamos a mover la gráfica 1 para arriba. So looking at these, all of these are y-intercepts, right? But my y-intercepts are right here in the front, and these are all 1s. That's a 1, that's a 1, and this is a 1. But this lets me know that I'm going up 1. So la oh my god, this is like so bad for me. The y-intercept, the exponent, oh my god, yeah, I'm done. So done.
Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting.
Yeah, see, I hate this. Va a cruzar la Y, axis de Y, es 1 aquí, pero aquí es 2. Y es porque estamos moviendo 1 para arriba. Y la que está moviendo para arriba es esta función. So these are all 1s. And then the only one that's moving up by 1 is this one right here. So I'm going to move this piece there. For the other ones, I can figure out what does this mean. So puedo mirar para lo que significa estos números acá. The whole number lets me know that I'm going to be multiplying. And what am I multiplying by? I'm multiplying by 5. Porque tenemos un número que está grande. Sabemos que va a ser multiplicar por 5. Pero eso es una fracción. So, los fracciones me va a decir que vamos a dividir. ¿Y por qué qué número vamos a dividir? Vamos a dividir por 5. So because we have a fraction, we know we're dividing. And we're going to divide by 5 because of the number down here on the bottom. Multiplying means our number is getting bigger. So multiplicar me dice que vamos a tener los números que se van a ir más grandes. Dividiendo me va a hacer los números que se vayan para abajo, más chicos. So dividing means that my numbers get smaller. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to go from the left to the right. Is my numbers getting bigger or smaller? So de la izquierda a la derecha vamos a mirar si los números van más grandes o más chicos. So from here down, we're getting from big numbers to small numbers. So vamos de números grandes a números chiquitos. So eso me va a decir que vamos a dividir. So this is letting me know that we're going to be dividing because this is our numbers getting smaller. So el fracción me dice que los números van a ser de grande a chico. So vamos a mover eso ahí, which means this one's multiplying, which makes sense because from left to right, my numbers get bigger. So de la izquierda a la derecha, los números se van a hacer más grandes. Now, if you got all of that correct, cool. Mark that you guys got it correct. So si la hiciste bien, vas a escribir que la hiciste bien. Si no, vas a usar esto para escribir. It's like my mistake was that I put exponential equations in the wrong spot. So a lo mejor pusiste los exponentes en diferentes lugares. Y I learned that my exponential equation has, whoops, an x as an exponent. So sé que mi ecuación es exponencial porque tiene un x para un exponente. So I'll give you guys a second. Guys, some of you need to start getting better about getting to class on time. So in chat, I'm putting the link to today's activity. And then if you guys want to take a screenshot, it's right there. So si te quieres tomar una foto, ahí está. Mm. Spoose is not a word. My son's like reading something and he's like, spouse? Spouse? Spouse. All right, guys. We're going to switch on to page 2. Again, if you don't know certain pieces, then skip around and do the ones you do know. So si sabes algunos pero no otros, then haga las que sabes. The number lets you guys know how many points you guys would get on your test. So like más uno es los puntos que vas a agarrar en el examen que vas a tomar para el próximo semana. And again, don't touch this bottom piece until the end. So eso es de abajo es para escribir al último. So I'm going to give you guys 2 songs to work on this since it is long. So te voy a dar 2 canciones para hacer eso.
Going
I'm going to
to
take
go.
over.
Yeah.
And I started recording.
This is where we forgot last time.
Yeah.
All right. So what you really want to get to at the end of each of these problems here is writing the equation for either the graphs, the tables, or the word problems here. So luckily, it breaks it down for you in a couple of steps. They ask you to find the initial value. Is it linear exponential? Will it have that constant rate of change or a constant multiplier? And then what equation will you come up with after you have those pieces? So there's 2 things you want to remember. That a linear equation is y equals mx plus b, and that m is the slope and b is the y-intercept or the initial value. And the exponential equation is y equals a times b to the power of x. So there are a couple ways we said you could write this. So you could use parentheses, or you could have just used the little dot. It's up to you. But there's 2 different equations, so they should look different. So I'm going to walk you guys through a couple of steps here. I'm going to give you an example, and then we'll look at the actual practice problem from your practice test. So when you look at a graph here, you want to look at that graph and ask yourself, line or curve? Since it's a line, we know it's going to be linear. And because it's going to be linear, then you should be thinking, I need this equation, y equals mx plus b. So we need the slope and we need the y-intercept. So the first thing you can do is find that initial value. So remember, the initial value is your y-intercept when we come down that y-axis and we see a 7. I forgot Spanish. Tienes el gráfico, tienes tablas y tienes un problema en palabras. Lo que quieres hacer es escribir una ecuación y tienes que decidir si es una función lineal o exponencial. Cuando ves un gráfico que tiene una línea, va a ser una función lineal. Entonces la ecuación debe ser y equals mx plus b. Y es igual a mx más b. M es el slope y b a la b es el initial value, el y-intercept, donde intercepta la línea en la axis de y. So when we come down here, we get a positive 7 is our y-intercept. El 7 es donde nuestra línea intercepta la axis de y. And our slope. So you actually have to do a little bit of work here. You have to decide what your rise over run is. So pick 2 points. I'm going to pick this as my first point. This is my second point. Think of your directions. Elige 2 puntos para encontrar tu slope. Piensa en las direcciones. ¿Cómo llegamos del primer punto al segundo punto? Vamos a bajar 1. Since we're coming down 1, that's a negative 1. Si bajas, es negativo. And then we're going to run 1 to the right. Y luego corremos 2 hacia la derecha. Entonces es positivo 2. So you have your slope, which is negative 1 over 2. El slope es negativo 1 sobre 2. So you take those 2 things and you write them in your y equals mx plus b equation. Remember, slope in front of x and the y-intercept in the back. So this is what your equation will look like here. Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 7. So I'm going to show you an example of a student here, not you guys, but a student from the last semester was answering this question. Where is it? There it is. Okay. Este es un ejemplo de un estudiante, del trabajo que hizo un estudiante, no de esta clase. But right away, it's broken down for you guys pretty nicely. The first 2 questions should be the ones that you would definitely want to try and at least get those 2 points. Las primeras 2 preguntas en estas cajitas son las que quieres intentar, porque serían 2 puntos. Remember, initial value is the y-intercept. Valor inicial es el donde la línea intercepta la axis de y. So you'll come down this y-axis and you notice it's right here at 4. Bajas sobre la axis de y y miras que la línea está tocando ahí donde está el 4. So this student got 4 correct. Entonces el 4 sería correcto. The type of function, we're noticing it's a straight line, so I know this is going to be linear. So they did that part right. Como miramos que es una línea, sabemos que es una función lineal. So now you want to pay attention to, well, what rate am I going to have? It's linear. Right next to that, we have a constant rate of change. So you're going to have a rate of change, which is slope. You're not going to have a constant multiplier. So really, we shouldn't see anything down here if we're saying it's linear. Si estamos diciendo que esta función es lineal, no debemos de ver nada acá abajo donde dice constant multiplier. Porque una función lineal tiene un constant rate of change, tiene un slope. So then you find your slope, which remember is rise over run. So you're going to have to pick 2 points here. We already have 1 point. I'm going to come down and find another point there. Tienes que elegir 2 puntos en el gráfico para encontrar el slope. In this case, we're coming down 1, 2, vamos bajando 2, entonces va a ser negativo 2. And then we're running 1, 2, 3 to the right. So that's a positive 3. So our slope, rise over run, el slope, rise sobre, is negative 2 over 3. Debe de ser negativo 2 sobre 3. So you have the two things you need to write an equation. Tenemos las dos cosas que necesitamos para la ecuación, the initial value and your rate. So we just write it in this form because it's linear. Tenemos el valor inicial y el patrón, entonces podemos escribir la ecuación lineal. Y equals mx plus b, ponlos en la parte correcta. So we get y equals negative 2/3 x plus 4. See, this student here forgot the x. So do not forget your x. So if you got this question wrong, then maybe that's something you're going to want to write on the bottom there. My mistake was that I did not write down the negative slope and I forgot the x in the equation. If that was your mistake, that's something you can write. What did you learn from this? I learned that in a linear equation, the slope is in front of the x and the y-intercept is in the back. So if those are some of the things you might have forgotten. Or you could have said, I learned that a linear function does not have a constant multiplier. Entonces aquí este estudiante se le olvidó la x atrás del slope. Es muy importante que no se te olvide la x atrás del slope. Si no la agarraste correcto, lo que puedes hacer es escribir qué fue tu error. Esta persona escribió que mi error fue que no escribí el slope negativo. Tampoco no lo tiene aquí el negativo. Y que se me olvidó la x. También quieres decirnos qué es lo que aprendiste. Lo que aprendí aquí es que el slope va a estar enfrente de la x. So another thing you want to do is check by writing your word slope here on a line. If you notice that word slope is going down, then you definitely want to remind yourself that you should have a negative there. Si escribes la palabra slope en la línea, ves que se está como resbalando. Entonces eso te dice que debe ser negativo tu slope. All right. So we're going to take a look at another example. This time we have a curve. Vamos a ver otro ejemplo, pero esta vez tenemos una curva. So notice this curve is coming down. La curva está bajando, pero como es curva, sabemos que va a ser exponencial. Since we see a curve, we know it's going to be an exponential function. So what is an exponential function look like? It should have, well, the equation, it should be y equals a times b to the power of x. Remember, a is your initial value and b is your pattern. So we need to get those two things from this graph. Si sabes que es exponencial, va a tener esta ecuación. Y es igual a más b al poder de x, o el exponencial x. So we're going to need to get those two things. We're going to need the initial value and the constant multiplier. Vamos a necesitar las dos cosas, el valor inicial y el patrón, el constant multiplier. So the y-intercept, again, just go down your y-axis. We see it's there at that 27. El intercepto de y, bajamos sobre la axis de y y miramos dónde nuestra curva toca la axis y es 27. From there, to get your constant multiplier, your pattern, you have to keep looking at your other points and the y values. De ahí tienes que ver los otros puntos en la curva y ver los valores de y. So we have a 27 here. This point has a y value of 9, and this point has a y value of 3. Los puntos tienen valores de y de 27, este punto es 9 y este punto es 3. This point, it's like a decimal or a fraction, so we're not exactly sure, so you don't have to worry about that. Este punto aquí es como una fracción o un decimal. How do you say decimal in Spanish?
Decimal.
Decimal.
I think.
I'm like, it's just the
Always use that.
I'm not sure. Okay. So, tenemos los números 27, 9 y 3 y sabemos que están bajando porque la curva baja. These numbers are coming down because the curve is decreasing down. So that should tell us, oh, when it's coming down, it's a fraction. So keep that in mind. So what is the pattern here? ¿Qué es el patrón? Estamos dividiendo por 3. Si no lo pueden ver como división, sorry, if you can't see it as division, remember you could go backwards and go up instead. Si no pueden ver la división, pueden en vez empezar por abajo y subir y ver qué es el patrón. You notice it's times 3, que va a ser multiplicar por 3. But we know it has to be in a fraction form, so we write it as 1/3. Pero sabemos que como va curva, es una curva que viene para abajo, tiene que ser un patrón de fracción. So you have the two things you need for your equation. Remember, this is what your equation looks like. Y equals A, the initial value, times B, the multiplier, to the power of X. So put those in the correct spot, and you get Y equals 27 times 1/3 to the power of X. So we're going to keep this idea here and actually apply it to your question on the practice test. Vamos a usar esta idea y aplicarla en la pregunta número 4 de su pregunta en el examen de práctica. So again, right away, we can find the initial value. Lo primero que puedes encontrar es el valor inicial, which I think none of you are struggling with that. Bajas sobre la axis de Y y miras que el valor inicial es 3. So this student got the 3 right there. Este estudiante agarró el 3, correcto. The next thing that is pretty easy to tell if it's linear or exponential. It's exponential, so they got that right. Why is it exponential? It's a curve. La segunda parte que puedes ver de un gráfico es que es una curva y una curva tiene que ser exponencial. Entonces este estudiante agarró eso correcto. So now comes the last two pieces, okay? If it's exponential, I want to remember, oh, right next to it, I need to have a constant multiplier. So look at this student. He said we have a constant rate of change. That's not true. So no. So if you're saying it's exponential, we need to have a multiplier. Si estamos diciendo que es una función exponencial, tenemos que escribir nuestro patrón aquí donde dice constant multiplier. Si fuera lineal, entonces sí lo escribiríamos acá arriba, pero como no es lineal, puedes marcar eso y quitarlo. No answer here, no deben de tener ninguna respuesta aquí. So, see, multiplier, what are we multiplying by? Dice multiplier, multiplicador. ¿Qué es lo que estamos multiplicando? So, we're going to need to get our values here. So, we see that there's a 3. So, you can write a 3 here. And as we go up, oh, there we go. And as we go up, we find another point here at 6. And as we go up again, we find another point here, which is 12. So we have these numbers 3, 6, and 12. Si ves el gráfico, cada punto aquí tiene un valor de Y. Los puntos nos dicen que tenemos 3, 6, y 12. Keep in mind that in this one, we're going up. Your curve is going up. Aquí vamos subiendo. Entonces sabemos que va a ser multiplicación. So 3 times what will give us 6. 6 times what will give us 12. 3 por qué número nos da 6. 6 por cuál número nos da 12. So every single time here, we're multiplying by 2. And that's your constant multiplier. Cada vez aquí, 3 por 2 es 6. 6 por 2 es 12. El patrón de multiplicación es 2. It's 2. And once again, you have the two things you need to write the exponential equation. So keep this in mind. The exponential equation is y equals a, oh yeah, a to the power, a times b to the power of x. So a, we said, is our initial value. So that's going to be 3. And then b, our multiplier, is 2. La A es el valor inicial, que era 3, y la B es el patrón, que es 2. Entonces, esta ecuación aquí de abajo es la correcta. Pero noten como tengo la X aquí chiquita, es el exponente. This student here is wrong because look at where they were, look where they wrote the x. It's pretty big. It's not even an exponent. It's just right next to the 3. To have this correct, we need that x to be the exponent, and also they have their pattern wrong. It should have been 2. So these are the correct answers for your question number 4. It should be 3, exponential, there should be a 2 there, and this should be your final equation there. Yeah, good question. Let me come on over here. If you're typing it, how should we do that? If you're typing it, we said it's 3. You could use the parentheses, 2, and then this is the important part, caret. So for me, it's on top of the 6, but if you're like on the iPad, you would have to go to your characters and then just put the caret and type in the X. So that's.
Or you can type it all and then just draw yourself the little X instead.
Oh yeah. You could just say 3. I don't know if you guys use that little symbol for multiplying. It's up to you. Or the parentheses. So you could type it, just get out of that and write your little X like that. That's also an idea, a way to do it. Good question. All right, and I'll come back and show you guys, let you guys get a screenshot of the final version there. Okay, almost done. So now we're moving on to something like question 5. Now, question 5 was a table. So you should be able to look at graphs and write their equations, but you should also be able to look at a table and write their equations. Cuando tienes una tabla, también puedes, oh, yeah, okay. That was the same question I just said. Si tienes una tabla, también puedes escribir la ecuación, pero tienes que determinar si es lineal o exponencial. So when we have tables, you still have to determine if it's linear or exponential. So a couple of things you want to remember. A linear table will have a pattern that's adding or subtracting. Una función lineal que está en una tabla tiene un patrón de sumar o restar. An exponential table will have a pattern that's multiplying or dividing. Una tabla exponencial va a tener el patrón de multiplicar o dividir. So where do we find the pattern? You look at your y's. Hey. Okay, hold on. There we go. We're going to look at our y's. We have 5, 8, 11, and 14. Si miras tus Y, ahí vas a encontrar tu patrón. So a couple of tricks you guys want to keep in mind too is ask yourself, are these numbers going up or are they going down? 5, 8, 11, 14, they're going up. So that's either going to be addition or multiplication. Un truco que puedes usar es pensar si están subiendo tus números o bajando. 5, 8, 11, 14 están subiendo mis números, entonces sé que va a ser un patrón de sumar o de multiplicación. So you could try adding. 5 plus what is 8? Oh, that's adding by 3. Is that also true here? 8 plus 3 is 11. Yes, so adding by 3 works all the time. Puedo intentar sumar. En este caso, 5, ¿qué número me da 8? Pues 5 más 3 es 8. Entonces puedo intentar eso otra vez. 8 más 3 es 11. Está bien el patrón ahí. 11 más 3 es 14. So we now know it's linear. Porque estamos sumando, va a ser lineal. So your rate of change is your pattern, which is adding by 3. Your initial value here, Doc was really nice to you guys and she gave it to you. So you didn't even have to worry about finding it. She already told you it's 0, 2. So she's nice. Doc ya les dio a ustedes la respuesta del valor inicial. No tienen que hacer mucho trabajo ahí. Entonces, el valor inicial nomás se tienen que acordar es donde X es 0. Just remember it's where X is 0, and that would be at 2. So you have the two things you need again, your pattern or your slope and your y-intercept. So we just need to write it in the correct form because it's linear, y equals mx plus b. So we get y equals 3x plus 2. Just put your slope in front of the x and your y-intercept at the end of the equation. Como sabemos que es lineal, tenemos que escribirlo en la forma de la ecuación y es igual a mx más b. La m, tu slope, va enfrente de la x, 3x, y luego el valor inicial, or y-intercept, va atrás, which is plus 2. So, esa es una tabla lineal, pero ¿cómo lo hacemos para una tabla exponencial? Well, an exponential table, again, will have either a multiplication or division pattern. So think multiplication or division. You want to look at your y's again. 4, 8, 16, and 32. My numbers are going up, so I know it's going to be multiplication. Ve los valores de y otra vez. Para encontrar el patrón, pregúntate si están subiendo los números o bajando. En este caso están subiendo. Entonces sé que va a ser un patrón de multiplicar. Unos podrían decir que la mejor es sumar, pero los números, puedo intentar sumar un número y no va a tener ese patrón. Some of you might have thought, but it's going up. It could also be linear. Yes, that's true. So you could have tried adding a number. And in this case, it wouldn't work. So 4 plus 4 is 8. Is 8 plus 4 16? No. So adding doesn't work. So in this case, we're multiplying by 2. En este caso, el patrón es multiplicar por 2. ¿Cómo el patrón es de multiplicar? Sé que es exponencial. Because we're multiplying, we know it's exponential. So you have basically the two things you need. Your constant multiplier is 2. Your initial value, you don't have to worry that much about it because Doc is going to give it to you. So you also get 2 there. El valor inicial, no se tienen que preocupar porque Doc se los va a dar. Nomás acuérdense que es donde el X es 0. That's your initial value. All right, so how do we write the equation? Remember, it has to be in that form, y equals a times b to the power of x. Tiene que estar en la forma de y es igual a how do you say? Multiplicado por b al poder de x. Sounds right.
Something like that.
So our equation for this one is a should be in the front, 2, y equals 2 times our multiplier, 2 to the power of x. Y es igual a 2 por 2 al poder de x. How come I didn't think por when I was saying a por b? All right, so what about your table? So question number 5. En la pregunta 5. Podemos encontrar el valor inicial primero. So we can find the initial value pretty easily. Here it is. See, 0 for x. What is your y? This student got it correct. El valor inicial nos lo da la tabla. Tenemos la x de 0. Ah, okay, you figured. Okay. So el valor inicial is 2. So this student got it right. The initial value is 2. So now you want to know, is it linear or exponential? Quieren saber si es lineal o exponencial. Just remember, adding or subtracting is linear, multiplying or dividing is exponential. Sumar y restar es lineal, multiplicar y dividir es the exponencial. So what pattern do we have here? 2 plus something or minus or multiplying or dividing is 6. We notice our numbers are going up though. 2, 6, 18, and 54. Notamos que los números están subiendo. That tells us it's either going to be adding or multiplying. Puede ser sumando o multiplicando el patrón. Pueden intentar sumar. You can try adding. 2 plus 4 is 6. But 6 plus 4 is 10. Más 4 is 6. pero 6 más 4 es 10, no es 18. Entonces no puede ser sumando. So it must be multiplication. So 2 times what is 6? 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. So times 3 seems to work. 6 times 3, is that 18? Yes. And 18 times 3 is 54. So we have a multiplication pattern. Estamos multiplicando por 3 cada vez. This is exponential. Es una función exponencial. Este estudiante la agarró correcta. So remember, if we're saying it's exponential, then we need to come right over here and get that constant multiplier. No constant rate of change. Si estamos diciendo que es exponencial, la respuesta que sigue debe estar enseguidita de exponencial donde dice constant multiplier. No debemos de tener un constant rate of change. So we should not write anything there. Leave it blank. What did we say our pattern is? See, rate, pattern. This is where we should have the 3. For some reason, some students do switch it up here. Some students will say, oh, that's 3. This is 2. No, your pattern is the multiplier, what you're multiplying by. So this student did that correct. Este estudiante sí agarró el patrón de multiplicar por 3 correcto aquí. So now look at their equation. And I did see some of you guys doing this in this class. Mira la ecuación que escribió este estudiante aquí. Dijo que y es igual a 2x más 4. That's linear. Y equals 2x plus 4. That's a linear equation. So that can't be right. Tenemos, the exponential equation is a times b to the power of x. La ecuación exponencial es y es igual a por b al poder de x. So we get y is equal to 2 times 3 to the power of x. So I'll let you guys take a screenshot of this. When I go back to class kick, it should have all of those correct parts there. All right, the last thing here we're looking at is a word problem. So este es un problema, en palabras no tenemos gráficos, no tenemos una tabla. So we just have word problems. It's the same thing. You want to look for whether this is either an addition or subtraction type of problem or a multiplication and division type of problem. ¿Quieres ver si es un problema de sumar o restar? Yes. Si es un problema de sumar o restar o si es un problema de multiplicar y dividir. Así puedes saber si es lineal o exponencial. So right away when I read this, it says Doc Brown spends $5 each day. So I'm going to be focusing on this word spending here. And she started the month with $100 in her coffee account. So is this linear? Is this exponential? Well, the word spending tells me it's one of those operations, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. But to spend means you're taking money away. So that's subtraction. Okay. Este dice que Doc spends, está gastando $5 cada día en su café. Pero started, esta palabra started es empezó con $100. Son las dos cosas que necesitamos. Spending, gastando, es que está restando, está quitando de la cantidad. Por eso es lineal. So since we have a linear function, we just need the initial value and the rate of change. The initial value, remember, is what you start with. El valor inicial es lo que empieza, que es 100. And the rate of change, the pattern, el patrón, rate of change or slope, is -5. -5. And some of you might forget the minus because you're not thinking spending is taking away. El slope tiene que ser negativo 5 porque está gastando $5. Entonces la ecuación, the equation should be y equals mx plus b. Put those in the correct spot. Y equals -5x plus 100. So since we're running out of time, I'm going to just go ahead and go to your example right here where it says Ms. Gomez spent $5 each day on Starbucks. She started the school year with $60 on her gift card. Well, one thing I want to point out first is that Doc and I just like to spend money on coffee.
Yay, coffee.
So see, that's why you're gonna see us at, isn't it?
I'm gonna go to that new Starbucks today.
Yeah, the new Starbucks. And that one's actually pretty close to me too, so I'm gonna go. Spending. So spending is, think about it. If you have a bank account, so I have a question if somebody's saying, isn't it multiplying by 5? Well, think about it. You have $10 in your account and you're gonna go to the store and spend $5. What does it mean to spend? That means you're gonna take away $5. So you're left with $5. So spending, the spending part tells us it's to subtract. Hacer spent es pues como hacer una compra. Si estás comprando algo, estás quitando dinero de lo que tienes en tu bolsa. Por eso es restar, to take away, to subtract. So we're spending $5 each day, and then she started with 60. Empezó con $60. So your initial value is 60. That's correct. And then this is linear because we're subtracting. So if it's linear, we're going to come right over here and not have an answer here in your multiplier. So for some reason, this says it's correct when you just type in a 5, but it should actually be -5 because we're spending, we're subtracting 5. Entonces, si es lineal, tenemos que tener un rate of change, no debemos de tener un multiplier. Y la ecuación debe estar otra vez en esta forma. The equation should be y equals mx plus b. Remember your slope and then your y-intercept first. They almost had it here, this student here, but x should be in the back of your slope. So your slope should also be negative here. So it should be y equals -5x plus 60. So if you're looking at the end of this question here and you saw that you did some mistakes and you maybe made a mistake like this one, you could say, my mistake was I did not put a negative in front of the rate of change. That's what this student did. Este estudiante se equivocó con el negativo enfrente del 5. Entonces, el error de este estudiante es no poner un negativo enfrente de la X del slope. So what did you learn? I learned that a linear function does not have a constant multiplier, que es algo que podemos aprender de este problema, es que la función lineal no debe de tener un constant multiplier. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to Classic here. This is what it should look like here, completely done. Reflections. I really like this sticker.
I love that sticker.
Reflections. It almost sounds like a song. You know, like that Usher song, Confessions? It's an old one.
But there is a song called Reflections. It's from the Mulan movie, the cartoon version.
Oh, yeah, I love that one. All right, so you guys can go ahead and take a screenshot of this page now. This is what it looks like completely filled out and if it's correct.
Yeah, and since we ran out of time, the rest of it is for you guys to do for homework. And at the beginning of tomorrow, we're going to cover the rest of it.
Yeah, and just to help you guys out, this should be in week 6, right? We said that. Yes.
Week 6.
Week 6. So the graphing, the domain and range, you can look on your notebook for week 6, and that should be on there. And then this was after I left this week, right?
That was the last week.
Last week?
That was the last week that you were here, yeah.
Week 7?
Huh? No, week. Oh, that one? Yeah. That was Tuesday.
Oh, okay,
that was
so
this week.
This week. Can I see page 2 again? Yes. There you go. But it all comes
But
down to linear, exponential.
yeah. And don't forget to do your exit ticket, guys. And yeah, make sure to say, bye to Miss Gomez before you guys leave.
I
She's
will.
never coming back again. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll come back for your final. No, I'm just kidding.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Gomez.
Bye. I'll come back.